Have you ever felt someone's love in the silence, not in the words, not in the calls, not in the obvious signs, but in the strange distance that makes no sense? It is confusing, it is painful, and yet it is real more often than people admit. Sometimes the person who feels the most is the one who says the least. Sometimes the one who thinks about you all day is the one who stays away at night. And if you have ever mistaken distance for indifference, stay with me, because this may change the way you see love forever. Not every silent heart is empty. Not every absence means a lack of care. Sometimes distance is not rejection. Sometimes it is emotional overload. Sometimes it is fear. Sometimes it is the soul standing at the edge of something so deep, so life-changing, that it does not know whether to run toward it or run away from it. And that is the hard truth. Real love does not always move in a straight line. Sometimes it steps back before it steps forward. Sometimes it grows quiet before it becomes brave. And what looks cold on the outside can be a storm on the inside. Listen closely, because the next part may explain someone you never understood, or maybe even explain you. Most people believe love should look simple. If someone cares, they should come closer. If someone misses you, they should reach out. If someone feels deeply, they should make it obvious. But human emotion is rarely that clean. The truth is, small feelings are easy to carry. A little attraction feels light. A passing crush feels manageable. Mild affection does not shake your life. But deep love is different. It enters the mind with force. It changes the air inside a person. Suddenly, thoughts become heavier. Emotions become sharper. The future starts looking different. A person who once seemed ordinary becomes deeply important. And that is where the fear begins. Not because the love is weak, but because it is strong. When someone truly matters, they do not just enter your day. They enter your inner world. They affect your peace. Their absence has weight. Their attention matters. Their rejection becomes painful even before it happens. For a person who is not ready for that level of emotional exposure, the feeling can be overwhelming, so they pause, they step back, they go quiet. Not because their heart is empty, but because it is full in a way they did not expect. And if that truth hits home, keep listening, because it only gets deeper from here. Imagine spending your whole life near small rivers, then suddenly standing in front of the ocean. It is beautiful. It pulls you in, but it also humbles you. You do not know how deep it goes. You do not know how strong the current is. You do not know what will happen if you walk too far in. Deep love feels like that. Part of the person wants to come closer. Another part wants to stop and understand what is happening before taking one more step. They begin asking questions they cannot ignore. Why do I care this much? Why is this one person always on my mind? Why do their words stay with me? Why does the idea of losing them feel so heavy? These are not questions of indifference. They are signs of emotional significance. But the outside world usually sees only the silence. It sees hesitation. It sees caution. It sees distance. What it does not see is the private war happening under the surface, the replayed conversations, the drafted messages that never get sent, the late-night thoughts, the imagined moments, the fear of doing the wrong thing when something finally feels right. People move carelessly through what means little to them, but when something matters deeply, caution appears. They become careful because they know the stakes are real. And sometimes what looks like withdrawal is really someone trying not to mishandle a connection that already means more to them than they know how to say. There are some people who do more than attract us. They awaken us. They stir parts of us that had been sleeping for years. Their presence does not just create emotion. It reveals something hidden. Maybe your strength reminds them of the courage they never built. Maybe your softness exposes how guarded they have become. Maybe your honesty forces them to face the lies they tell themselves. Maybe your warmth awakens dreams they buried a long time ago. That is why some connections feel intense from the start. They do not stay on the surface. They go straight to the deeper layers. And while that can feel exciting, it can also feel deeply uncomfortable. Because real connection does not only bring pleasure, it brings confrontation. It shines light into corners people have spent years keeping dark. A person may look calm around you while quietly falling apart inside, not because you hurt them, but because your presence is making them see themselves more clearly. That kind of mirror is beautiful, but it can also be frightening. So they pull away, not always from you, but from what they are discovering within themselves. Every moment of closeness becomes a reminder. Every conversation brings up questions they have not answered. Every spark of connection asks them to grow, and growth, while powerful, is not always pleasant. So if someone seems distant while still emotionally attached, it may be because being near you is changing them more than they know how to handle. Another reason someone may keep their distance is because they are already afraid of losing what they have not even fully had. This happens more than people realize. A person can become attached to a possibility, to a future they have only imagined, to a bond that has not yet been spoken out loud. And once that connection starts feeling precious, fear enters quietly. What if I say too much? What if I move too fast? What if I reveal my heart and ruin everything? What if I lose the one thing that has started to mean so much to me? The deeper the value, the stronger the caution. People do not worry all night about losing what means nothing to them. They worry about what they treasure. They worry about what feels rare. They worry about what would truly hurt to lose. So sometimes, instead of stepping forward, they protect themselves by stepping back. It feels safer. It feels more controlled. It feels like a way to avoid pain before pain has the chance to arrive. But that safety is an illusion. Distance does not erase longing. It does not quiet the mind. It does not make the heart feel less. It only turns love into silent suffering. And still, many people choose that silence because uncertainty feels easier than rejection. If this part feels painfully familiar, don't skip ahead, because what comes next explains why this struggle can last far longer than anyone expects. Some of the hardest battles happen where nobody can see them. From the outside, a person may look composed. They go to work, they smile, they answer messages, they act normal. But inside, there may be conflict so intense it steals their peace. Deep feelings often wake up old fears, old wounds, old insecurities. A person may start feeling unworthy without even realizing it. They may fear they are not enough, not healed enough, not successful enough, not stable enough, not ready enough. Love can expose every crack a person spent years trying to hide. And when that happens, distance can become a shield. Not a solution, just a shield. They are not only dealing with affection, they are dealing with everything affection touches. The fear of being seen too clearly, the fear of being left after being known, the fear that their flaws will become visible the moment they get too close. This creates a painful contradiction. They want connection. They fear exposure. They want closeness. They fear disappointment. They want love. They fear what love will reveal about them, so they stay in between, emotionally involved, physically reserved, mentally attached, outwardly distant. It makes no sense until you understand the hidden fear beneath it, because sometimes the problem is not the relationship at all. Sometimes the real problem is the storm inside the person who is feeling it. And until they face that storm, even the most beautiful connection can end up wrapped in silence. There is also another truth people rarely talk about. Sometimes distance comes from respect, from seriousness, from the desire to become better before stepping closer. When someone truly values you, they may start looking at their own life in a different light. Their habits stand out more. Their weaknesses become harder to ignore. Their unfinished healing suddenly matters. They begin asking themselves difficult questions. Am I ready for something real? Can I give the kind of love this connection deserves? Am I still carrying patterns that could damage something good? Before you mattered, they may have been comfortable staying the same. But now, because you matter, they feel the weight of becoming more honest, more stable, more mature, more whole. This is not emotional absence, it is private self-examination. It is someone realizing that love is not just a feeling, it is also responsibility. Responsibility to heal, responsibility to grow, responsibility to stop letting old pain run the future. The sad part is they may never explain any of this. From your side, all you see is space. You do not see the inner work, you do not see the reflection, you do not see the effort being made in silence. But sometimes the person keeping their distance is not walking away from the connection. They are trying, in their own flawed and quiet way, to become someone who can hold it without breaking it. And then there is the biggest fear of all: change. Real closeness changes everything. As long as love stays unspoken, it lives in possibility. It stays protected in imagination. It can be perfect there, untouched, unchallenged, safe from reality. A person can dream about you without risking disappointment. They can replay your moments without having to define them. They can hope without having to act. And strange as it sounds, there is comfort in that uncertainty. Not happy comfort, but familiar comfort. The moment they step closer, everything becomes real. Feelings become visible. Choices become necessary. Vulnerability becomes unavoidable. And life, as they know it, may never return to the way it was. Some people sense that before anything even begins. They know that if they let you fully into their world, their priorities will shift, their heart will open, their control will weaken, their future may start forming around something bigger than just themselves. That is beautiful, but it is also terrifying. So they linger at the edge. They stay close enough to feel, but far enough to pretend they still have control. Yet the mind does not rest there. The heart does not settle there. Because what is meaningful keeps calling, what is real keeps returning, what matters keeps pressing against the walls they built. And that is why distance for many people is not peace. It is postponed transformation. Still, here is the part many people need to hear. Distance is not always proof of deep love. Sometimes distance is just distance. Sometimes people are unclear because they are not ready. Sometimes they are silent because they are choosing silence. So do not build your whole life around trying to decode every quiet person who entered your heart. But also, do not rush to assume that silence always means nothing. Human beings are complicated. Hearts are often louder inside than they are outside. The wiser response is not to chase shadows. It is to see clearly. If someone truly values the connection, sooner or later they must face what they feel. They must choose courage over confusion. They must let their actions meet their emotions. Because love cannot live forever as a private storm. At some point, it has to become honesty. It has to become presence. It has to become truth in motion. And if it never does, then no matter how deep the feeling was, it remained trapped in fear. That is why your role is not to rescue someone from their inner conflict. Your role is to protect your own peace while staying open to what is real. Let people do their inner work. Let them face their own walls. Let them decide whether they will rise into clarity or stay hidden in hesitation. Their silence may explain them, but it should not imprison you. So if someone who loves deeply keeps their distance, the reason may be more layered than most people understand. Maybe the feeling is stronger than they expected. Maybe your presence wakes up hidden parts of them. Maybe they are afraid of losing something that has become precious. Maybe old wounds are speaking louder than their heart. Maybe they are trying to become better before stepping forward. Maybe they already sense that true closeness with you would change their entire life. All of these things can be true, and none of them are simple. But here is the final truth. Love that matters will eventually ask for courage. Not fantasy, not overthinking, not endless almosts. Courage. Because no real bond can grow inside permanent distance. At some point, the heart must speak. At some point, fear must be challenged. At some point, someone has to stop standing at the edge and decide whether they will enter the water or keep watching it from shore. If this message found you at the right time, hold on to this. Not every retreat is rejection, and not every silence is empty. Sometimes the quietest people are carrying the loudest feelings. But never forget this too. You deserve a love that does not stay hidden forever. You deserve truth. You deserve clarity. You deserve someone brave enough to meet depth with depth. And if that happens, everything changes. If it does not, let the silence teach you, but do not let it keep you waiting forever.